I know the energies are heavy, but we don't have time to play. We gonna do this?
Talking. You said go, and I hit it already. Hello, you caught it right in the middle of talking right in there. That's why you know this is sunshine. So this is the playground. This is the Sandbox live to the third part edition. We have my lovely co-host April Williams, and we
Aloha.
have also special guest co-host Jupiter 1111.
Woohoo! We
Yay!
love you.
Love you. Yes, yes. Well, Kathy D got stuck on that boat out there on Catalina Island, and right now we're trying to find where she's at, but she will find her way eventually back to the mainland. So she's just out there sunning right now, out there on Catalina Island at this moment. So we're just gonna right now where she's at send love and kisses her way. So if she'll come in, she'll drop by later on too. She might. If not, hey, we have our lovelies here. All right, hello everybody. I'm looking over here on the side. Hey Vanessa, Desiree. Hey Dawn. Hey Gaming Addict. I'm trying to go up, do it real quick. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hey Bonita. Hey Yanira. All right. Hey Kiki. CG. All right. Everybody's in the house trying to see. I thought I seen a new little face that was in here that I had not seen. Megs333. Hey, how you doing? Glad you found us. All right. Make sure everybody have their sand and their pail and their shovel. All right, let's get started. So we're doing like a continuation of the catalyst discussion that we had. So I'm glad that Jupiter 1111 is here so she can give her spin because we all had our own definitions. And I think out of all of the playground experiences that we had there, this one was the most, we had different views about what the catalyst was. And so I'd like to hear what's your spin on what is the catalyst according to you.
It's interesting because 19 is actually the number of the catalyst, which is my birthday.
Okay.
So I had to actually look that up, and I had a card. It's like this moment, is that trigger, is that tower moment where things just cause you to shift or to choose to shift because there's such an it's almost like a point in time where you see a truth, and then you have to decide, are you going to move forward with it? The thing is that once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right.
Once that happens, it's not like you can re-erase it. Some people try to suppress it, but it's just going to come back because it's too late. So the point of the catalyst or the trigger, as sometimes we like to call it as well, is to push us along toward the thing that we want. Or if we're not sure what that is, but we've been asking, God, source to light our path, then those things happen for us to then work on it in that moment, to have the aha in the moment. That's why I tell people, like, don't go picking on the scab, just like when these things come up, when the catalysts come up, when the tower comes up, when that moment comes up, that's the most opportune time for you to do, because now everything has been designed around you so that way you can make the most out of that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't, and when we suppress it, or we ignore it, or we try to use it away, justify, keep staying backwards, it's just going to come back again. And usually when it comes back again, it doesn't come back. It always comes back with a little bit more interest when we don't deal with it.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't always come back quickly. It can come back in 3 months, in 6 months. It can come back in a year, but it will circle around again because it was designed on purpose. It came about on purpose. Now, whether that came about because we made bad decisions or because it was like divinely orchestrated, it still came about. And so if we want to make the most out of our life and our purpose and our walk and our time here on earth, then we need to embrace those moments, because those moments are for our highest good if we allow them to be.
Question also, and that came up from the topic we talk about too. Can towers be catalysts?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
because the towers are there because you know there's in some of the cards, right? We see the two kinds. We see the aha moments, and
Hmm.
those that is the spirit of revelation. So there are 7 different manifestations of the Holy Spirit, and one of them is the spirit of revelation. That's that tower. That's that aha moment. Like, oh, and then the another manifestation of the Holy Spirit is the spirit of understanding. So you first get that aha moment, which is a light tower, the good tower that we want. And then as we press in to that moment, then we get the other manifestation of spirit, which is the understanding. So that we can understand why we got it or how this came to be. We start getting the pieces to the puzzle through that empowerment of spirit, you know. And then when we have those two things together, he starts putting in another aspect of himself, which is knowledge. And then all those three together gives us wisdom, which is another aspect, another part of the ministry of spirit in our lives. So when those things happen, it's, you know, sometimes people are like, you know, I know we like to say things that everything happens for a reason, but sometimes it happens for a reason because we were a dodo, because we made a mistake, because we initiated that. And so sometimes we hide behind like, well, everything happens for a reason. Yes, but was that reason because you kept on missing the signals, because you kept on, you know, God kept on saying go right, you kept on going left, you kept on feeding your ego, you kept on feeding your pride, you just weren't paying any attention. Sometimes it's not ego or pride, it's just like, you know, it's like this apathy about life. And
Right.
then things happen and they're like, well, then you get like a tower moment, because it's like, okay, well, your decisions continually was to kind of be like meh. And then when something happens, you're like, wow, well, I guess everything happens for a reason. When everything goes down the drain, and I'm like, no, well, if you actually took stock of what was happening, God's grace is always trying to be like, psst, you're going the wrong way. He's like, angels are like sending you orbs, numbers, telling your friends, yeah, sending you signals, putting sirens, and you're like, flag on the play, flag on the play, and you're
Well, I
like,
guess
la la la.
because everything is so triggering, right? These days. So what's coming up for me with that statement is, well, then how do I move forward if I'm constantly gonna beat myself up over the fact that yes, I did miss some stuff, or yes, I misinterpreted that, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you know we're coming from so many different lenses, and in the age of clearing the wound, the wound is like we dig it up, we dig it out, you know, and it comes out, and everything that's not supposed to be there, we really get to clean, so it's rising up to the surface. So if we miss something, if we miss one of our um, callings from God, what do we do then? Where do we sit with that, right? Because do we just
Yeah.
stop moving all of a sudden because we missed the cue?
No, I mean that's
Does the play stop?
yeah. It does momentarily. I mean, it's like that's what the word repent means. It means to stop, turn around, and change your thinking. So first we stop, and then we turn around and start looking at what happened, and asking source, you know, asking God, where did I miss it? And then allow the quietness or the time that he's going to reveal it. That's that empowerment and the ministry of spirit doing the different aspects to give us that revelation, so that way we can understand, so that way we have the knowledge, so that way we have the wisdom. Then it ends up giving us a pattern, and they're like, oh, we stopped, we turned around, and now we can change our thinking so that that no longer happens in the future. But we can't, you know, it goes back to loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. First, we have to love ourselves and accept ourselves, forgive ourselves, give ourselves grace. Like, well, I know I'm trying. Okay, I see I missed it. I don't know how I missed it, but what I do want to know is how can I not miss it again? Or what was the lesson? Where was it that I got distracted or got the misinterpretation? And so that those are questions that wise people ask. People who are asleep, who are just kind of apathetic about their lives, they just like, well, okay, Sarah, Sarah, whatever it will be. They're not even asking you those questions. But it's people who really want to live out their purpose that then move in wisdom. And that's one of the things that the Jews say, that like they can tell the level of someone of how wise they are, but the kind of questions that they're asking. And so those questions that you're asking are questions of a wise person, because people who are wise, it's not that they have all the information, they just know to ask the right questions. And so those are the right questions. Like, oh, I recognize now that I misinterpret. Okay, now show me why I did. What was the root? Where did I miss it? And really, if you can see it from a point of curiosity, like you're going to school versus there's something wrong with me, I keep on screwing up, and having that negative narrative, using it as a point of like, oh, I get to be curious now. I get to co-create better. I get to really be friends with God now, because now he's going to be my mentor through spirit, through the governor. And now you're going to show me. And now it's more of a open and curiosity. I'm like, okay, I see that I screwed up. Okay, I can't do anything about it now. Let's have, mentor me. And then it's like, it becomes more of a mentorship than with spirit versus you did this wrong. And it's kind of like, bad girl.
Like a
Oh,
punishment reward system thing, the old paradigm of I got to be constantly corrected or learn things the hard way, right? Because it's
right.
not necessary if we're really paying attention and learning the lessons that we get to with each, whatever our catalyst is that's moving us forward.
Yeah, because it's not always a hard way. Like the best way to learn is from somebody else's mistakes. that's
Mhm.
why that's why we share and we're vulnerable here, and we're telling you what's going on in our lives, so that way if you see yourself going down that path, like, oh, I remember Jupiter had something similar happen to her, and this was what she did, and maybe that way you can avoid the pitfalls, or Divine, or April, or Kathy. So that's why things like this are really important when we're vulnerable and open, and we allow ourselves to share those stories of failure and triumph. Having the mix of having those both things, so that way we can help each other, and then help somebody else become wiser, so that they don't have to go down and fall into the pit themselves. That's part
Absolutely.
of being able to do these kinds of things that are important, whether they see it now or we time jump and we're getting that information. Somebody at some point will hear something that we have to say that will change the moment, and that will be their catalyst moment. It doesn't have to come through a dark tower where everything is kind of like, we're just gonna knock everything off the table and start all over again. It'll be like, ooh, I saw myself going to the same path, and it's just like, okay, did you see it? Don't go down this path, because that's what's probably going to happen to you too. And that's also a path of wisdom.
Yeah, it's always best when you're at that point like that and you don't know. I call it don't move until you see it. I think about Bobby Fischer, and that's why the movie about the greatest, one of the great chess players. And when he started playing chess, a lot of times his mentor, he would try to make something. He said, wait a second, well, wait. Don't move until you see it. Don't touch the piece until you actually see all of the steps that you're about to moves you're about to make later on or in the present. And that's a self another way of like self-preservation, so it kind of helps protect you as well, because if you keep on powering through, thank you, Raphael, if you keep on powering through, you'll kind of find yourself kind of like headed for self-destruction. So it's always good also too to kind of like step back and take a break and kind of really regroup yourself, so you can be able to see everything that's going on. And I think that's some of our problems now that we have here, is that we want to keep on powering through, and sometimes it doesn't call for us to keep on powering through. It calls for us to kind of step and take a break and kind of pause, press the pause. It's okay to do that. Oh, there go Kathy D. She's stuck over there. Other one, she's making comments over there in the sunshine, in the lounge over there on the side. Hey, Kathy D. Hey, Miss Abundantly Grateful. Hey, Margaret Rushing. She brought up a good thing. What she said here, I like that, which was you are in control of how you respond to others, how you react and or don't. Okay. Great. Yes, that is true. Right. There's no more. That's I tell the kids all the time. But they made me do it. I say, wait a second. You can't say Anybody made you do anything that you don't want to? And a lot of times we use that as an excuse as well for us not to take ownership for the things and which is going on. And then Kathy D put also, there is no right or wrong way to handle a catalyst. The only thing to do is not deal with what is brings up. Yeah,
Well,
just uh-huh.
yes and no, because I know someone who um the person that he was with found out about like his extramarital affairs, and she grabbed a knife and went to go stab him. That was the wrong way to react to that catalyst moment. To grab a knife and go to and stab up his hands. Wrong.
Right.
Somebody had the catalyst moment and then they end up slapping somebody, punching somebody in the face. Wrong. You know, so there are some
It
extremes,
could be
where
their
it's like
karma.
Yeah.
Needed.
I was just like,
They call it
well,
a shakabuku.
Yeah.
Right?
because I know people that was their catalyst moment, but they handled it poorly. They handled it wrong, and how do you know when the action that you're taking is physically on someone else?
Oh,
Wrong. If your verbiage is out of anger and the words that you're speaking, they're death in their life, and so now you just released a bunch of death seeds to someone in that anger. That's why we're told, be angry but sin not, which is don't cause those triggers or like release death seeds into
okay.
someone's life. So there is right and wrong ways, but it's usually the wrong thing is like when you are in that so anything that's coming out of that's like, ooh, pause
That's right.
before you do something or say something that you're going to regret. And some things you can't take back. So, so the way we react to it, respond to it is really important. And if you're not sure what to do, then that was the thing. Like, just pause. It's okay to pause. And
Right.
people become very, very uncomfortable with pauses because they don't know what you're going. I mean, if you want to make somebody uncomfortable in an argument, stop talking and just look at them and wait before you say something. And they were like, especially if you're already a talker, because
Mhm.
they're just trying to edge you on. You're like, you're not gonna sit there and say anything, and you're like, I'm thinking, and they're like, oh,
It's almost like controlling that dopamine store, that dopamine serotonin release, like when you don't feed into that part of the consciousness that wants to perpetuate that type of emotional response, or the hormones that are released through the triggering, right? Because once you get over that, then it gets really good on the other side, because then you're able to flow in a higher energy state no matter what's kind of going on around you. But of course you get tested again, right? Because now we're going through the cosmological gauntlet, I guess. Like this, it's not necessarily, it's not exactly Star Wars, but the way that the planets be messing with us right now, it feels kind of intense. Everybody can see it happening, but nobody wants to really admit that it's actually going on mainstream media wise, right?
Right.
So we come together and we kind of help hold hands or form those bridges to help us connect to ourselves, connect to our highest self, and flow with it. And that's why I'm really excited for. We just had a really beautiful soul come through our playground experience. If you haven't, check it out at Divine Unisouls 1111.co. Our playground experience is a lovely way to help you process and help you integrate the catalysts that are coming for you. You can step into it, like Jupiter 1111 is saying. We're stepping into these aha moments. We're stepping into the finger of God. Does it not feel like? Somebody just turn on the lights.
Yeah.
Ding.
I'm on lights.
But we come with this three-pronged approach, and the more people you kind of have looking at a situation, the more solutions that can be made to relieve from it. So the catalysts have been kind of really intense this week for me, and these lovely ladies have really helped me kind of filter in and ground it through. And knowing that there's a surrender component, right? Because we're surrendering to the trust of the great I am. We're surrendering to that trust of God, knowing that He's going to get us to the other side of this particular situation.
Yeah.
But as empathic, we know, I know it's a little different here, but I can feel the whole planet just having this whole mucky, how do I put my feet on the ground? We don't know where we're standing, so we're grasping at old straws and things that'll make us uncomfortable just so we can feel some kind of stability, when that's not where we actually need to utilize our catalysts, utilize our ability to transform into our greater selves. So
And I think you bring up a really good point too about the playground experience, because it's like those things, right? Those, when you have that aha moment, sometimes you can't process it all together. And from experience, you know, I had 3 different, I should have just done it through the playground, but I ended up doing it separately, which is fine. But I ended up like first talking to April, and then, you know, having these things come up about my body, and that led me to making good decisions about like what to do to get healthier. So I ended up like doing something. I lost like 7 inches in a week. And then I had a hypnotherapy session.
Results may vary. Results may vary.
Results may vary. So
Yeah.
then, you know, then I had a session with Kathy D. And I was like, you know what? I know how to do this stuff for myself. But sometimes when we know how to do things for ourselves, we almost count too much on our gifting. And if you want to fast track yourself, sometimes you have to go outside of your own gift to someone that you trust. That's why I went to April, because I trust her with about like the body stuff. I know her expertise. I went to Kathy D. We did a hypnotherapy session on Monday, and I already knew the components, but I wanted to fast track because of the underlying thing of grief, you know, losing my kid's father about a month ago. And so there was these other things that was coming up over and over, and like day after day after day, about me holding back on my own gifting. And I can see the components, and I knew that me working on it by myself with God, I would have had the same result, but it fast tracked me back to go outside of myself to somebody who I trusted, who I knew, you know, was a Jedi herself. And so I had a huge breakthrough again then with Kathy D. And then I had Divine Sunshine do something for me for, you know, on a reading, special reading. And so that really helped to just give me closure, or help with the closing process and the grief process. But could I have done everything myself? Yes. But I have so many things going on, and trying to process the grief and other things, that I knew that this catalyst moment, it would run faster. I would heal faster. I would get more wisdom nuggets out of it by going outside of myself to people I trusted. And sometimes we don't want to go to someone else because we don't want to be that vulnerable, or we figure like we can't afford it. Well, you know, sometimes you can't not afford, you know, you really can't afford not to. In order for you to progress faster because of where you're going, you need to fast track yourself. So when you get that inspiration of, I think I need to book this person, or I need to go do this, or I need to go do that, and you're like, well, I don't know if I should, you know, because of the money, you know, you received that idea was from source. What he calls for, he pays for. So if you got that idea, and it's like, wow, I really need that. I really need to talk to someone like Kathy, who's a mind Jedi, but because she's a twin flame and an empath, she has all the clinical stuff, you know, all the schoolings, all the practical things. But because of her twin flaminess and her being able to be so intuitive, she can draw out the right strategy. So then you get fast tracked, which is what happened for me, and I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity, you know, and I had, you know, some scratch to do that with, because I understand that I am my best investment. So, you know, I've sat there and I'm like, God has told me, I remember he told me he wanted me to go on a trip. The trip was going to cost $2,000. I'm like, you've got mail, Jesus. I don't have $2,000, you know? And literally the night before I was supposed to go, $2,000 came in to take care of the whole trip. Happened to me twice for $2,000 trips. So that's why I tell you that what God ordains, he pays for. And if he told you to do something, whether it's $20 or $2,000, it makes no difference about what the amount is. If he told you to do it, then you need to receive that in faith and be like, okay, I know I have to do this. Let me, show me how to get the money. Maybe there's money, an expense that I can decrease, which automatically increases my funds, and then I go and invest myself, because he's trying to fast track you through other people. That's why we have gifts, and that's why we have other people to help us. So had I not had those sessions with the three, and they didn't know I was going to talk about this. Somebody, April started talking about the playground, and I'm like, oh, good. Now I can tell you what I happened to me in three different things. And so it's really helped me in the last 2 weeks to come back to myself, to process the deep pain of grief. Even like yesterday, so I had the reading from Divine, and then I cried so much that my lashes were actually even like, and I grew on them, but they're like, nope, nothing. I went to the bathroom, and my number one son was there, and I'm washing my face, and he says, and he looked at me, and he goes, it just occurred to me that from everybody, you're the most hurt from Dad's death, because he's our father, but he was your friend. And I looked at him, I was like, yeah, for almost 30 years. I have been his friend and his wife longer than I have been alive. And then he said, I didn't realize, really that you're in the most pain of all of us. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, and I have friends that I'm processing that with. And it just hit him. Like he didn't, because I'm always taking care of everybody. But because I'm always, especially those who are always taking care of everybody, you need to find your outlet, find your soul tribe. That's why, Divine has also a forum in her Wix, so people can come and talk together, share their gifts there, share their insights, and be able to nurture one another. Mm-hmm. Having this safe place of activation, because you don't know. Even on her monthly, when this first happened, it was just like, it hurt me so bad, but thankfully this was already in process with the sun. I don't know why I can't say that. Sunshine circle. Too many others. She said, she said, and when that happened, that I was already plugged into a intimate soul family where I was just like, this just happened. And it happened in the call. We were actually on the call in the circle, and I got the call that he had passed away. Mm-hmm. And I was in the midst of amazing divine feminines whose one sole purpose is to nurture each other. And in that moment of shock and deep grief and anger, I was at the right place at the right time. True. And so, that's only $22 a month. But again, that's a cost, right? It's a cost, not a big cost, but it's a cost in my time and in my focus to be there. But had I not invested in myself to be somewhere to be nurtured and to nurture others when I needed to be around people who can love on me in that moment, I would have missed it. It doesn't mean that God wouldn't have brought it some other way. But I think that the reason even my kids have been able to even fast track in the grieving process, and we've been able to do that, is because we were set up already, because we said yes to the opportunities in those catalyst moments. Even that, it doesn't sound like a catalyst moment, but that was a choice. Catalyst moments are also a hard choice to make, or even not. It doesn't seem like a hard choice at the time. Do I join that or not? I said yes. And in that yes, it opened up so many doors for me to be nurtured and to nurture others. But that was my moment, and I had to say yes to it. And Kiki had a really, really good question about that. She said, if something's for you, will it come back to you again? Maybe. Because, and I talked about this before, and there was I had downloads for books. Like, I got the title, I got the chapters, I got the bullet points. I didn't write it. That was mine to write, but I didn't do it. I said no to that catalyst moment, to that aha moment. I started writing on it, but I just didn't pay any attention. That goes to the apathy. Wasn't paying attention, wasn't honoring it. totally missed all the signals just because I was busy and didn't really honor what came through as that moment. And then 18 months later, I saw the same book with the same title, with the same chapter names, with the same bullet points. And then it happened to me again. You think I would have learned the first time? Kiki. That my lightning fast mind, after it happened to me the second time, again, I saw a book with the same chapter title, same bullet points, written by somebody else because I didn't do it. So we can't always think like, well, if you missed it, it'll come back again. It may not, but it can bring you another opportunity because, okay, I missed those two opportunities, but when I get the other download, now I know that's my lesson. I learned to honor it and to do it because I don't want to miss out on giving someone what was given to me to share, because those two books came out, but they weren't as powerful as the rest of the flushing out that Source gave me. Shame on me, but I'm not going to do that again. So those two things were my catalyst moments. Like, oh, well, I missed on writing that book specifically twice. you know,
Okay, so that gives me this feeling, right? So does that mean I should just quit on the twin flame journey altogether if I missed them?
Missed who? The DM?
Yeah, like things were just not lined up properly, and the energy to me was not as full of integrity as it could have been. There's a lot of shadowy stuff in it, right?
Well, it's like you can't. It's like saying, well, you're gonna stop being, you're gonna stop being black because you don't want to be anymore. Like you can't. I can't stop being Puerto Rican just because I don't want to associate myself with Puerto Ricans anymore. I am who I am.
But what I heard was like if you miss an opportunity that God gives you, then sometimes you just can't get it again. And now, and then I'm like referencing that with the twin scenario, right?
But that's different because that has to do with another person.
I have to go in here. We're in
like the book was specifically just between me and God. That opportunity did not come back again because he gave that to somebody else. When we are now connecting some things to somebody else external, they have their free will just as we do. And if we choose to not want to go, it's not like we can get off the journey because it's an adventure and we are who we are. But if we choose not to continue on wanting to have that dynamic with our DM, you're going to have to be honest with that. In the moment of anger and frustration and hurt, all of us have come to be like, you know what? And then later on, we'll hear a song, or we'll get like his 5D self, or he'll do something sweet that reminds us of why we love him anyway. Or like, oh, I really hate to love you because you're really adorable right now. And this is why I can just keep on opening the door, hoping that you get your shit together.
You like from Brokeback Mountain. I wish I could, but I can't. It's just so.
At some point, you're like, well, not
no quitting.
No, it's not. We can't quit the adventure because we are who we are, and then we have to just be honest with: is this the person? Have we seen enough of them in the 3D? Not the 5D selves, but have we even seen enough of their 3D selves show up in their sacred self to say, okay, I can see that 5D is manifesting. And that person who's showing up, who's their authentic self, yes, that's the man I'm waiting for. Not this 3D joker that's showing up that still has lessons to learn. But if this person is coming, that person's worth waiting for.
Right.
For people who've never met the person, it's almost easier because they're like, well, I've never met him anyway. But like in my situation, we did all the checklist of the twin flame fantasies. Pretty much. Like check.
Ooh, and the twin flame fantasies that come through for this woman. If you channel for her, just send her a tip. Donations, where's her Cash App? Post her Cash App, because once her DM and her come in there and they start talking stories at you, you're like, Freaky Friday. Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, serious question from Vanessa. Wondering if you were told about his passing before he did, what effect would that have had on you? You talking? You did, Vanessa? You doing that to Raquel? Uh,
Um, I, I'm always thinking, I think if I would have known clearly, I would have still denied it, because I know that, God's heart is for us to live a long, healthy life. Like, that's his plan. But I also know that we sometimes do things in the natural, right? We just can't go against natural law for decades and then expect, for us to live healthy. We have to have some kind of choices in there. So I was fighting it. I probably, there was signs and everything, and now that I'm looking back, there were signs, but I was ignoring it. So even if God was going to tell me, like, he's going to die, I don't think it would have changed anything for me, because I would have been fighting that tooth and nail, because I didn't want him to. I wanted I wanted him. I already knew who his next wife was going to be. Like, when he got better, that was the plan. And so I've already made plans. We had talked about plans. So I was so focused on what could be, that even the signs that he was slipping away, I was fighting it. I don't, it's, with death, it's like so hard. You're like, no, we fight death because in ourselves, we know it's unnatural. Death is unnatural. We're created to live forever. That was the original plan. And so our spirits live on and our souls are attached. We just get a new body. It's like, oh, we get to regenerate like Time Lords into a brand new body. I don't
That
think it
was
for me would have made a difference, because I would have been fighting it. Like, I hear you, but I don't want to talk about it. I want him to live. And God would have been like, but he's not going to. And I'm like, well, I don't want to talk to you right now, because I don't want to have to deal with the fact that, I wasn't ready to let him go. I think if I would have been ready to let him go, like if he would have maybe stayed in the coma and then I can see it, you know, maybe it would have been different, because then maybe I would have been more prepared to let him go. But I wasn't prepared to let him go.
yeah. Even when you are prepared to let him go, it's still it still is like, okay, it's actually happening now. Okay, I know that even with Dad, that preparedness, and I knew maybe a year before. Mom clocked it and said Spirit told him 6 months he would leave. Okay, he popping stuff, and then I clocked it a year before, and they said this is going to be your last Thanksgiving, and I was like, hmm. And it seems like we got another Thanksgiving, and then after that it started a slow decline. And so even when you do know, it doesn't change anything. Well, maybe it does, because it changed the manner and how I did things. I was more like drop it and making sure I was making memorable moments for my dad towards the end, and I was making sure that anytime I could spend time with him, I would make sure that I would push myself to make that happen. And I also, with me, had that past regression thing. To be honest, when I had that about my past lives and having that experience, made me take a look at how I handled my dad and experience with him much differently than I had would have if I didn't know that in the past life I didn't handle death too well. When I had my other significant husband, and I had him in the bed lying there, and I was going around just taking care and putting clothes on, and I seen my husband was dead, and I was acting like I was in denial about it. Helped me to say this time when my dad was transitioning, that I was going to do it in a more honorable way. I wasn't going to be in denial. I was going to take it by the bull by the horns and said, I'm going to be in control of this. So I did. I made sure that I was in control for everything. I stopped everything from work to make sure I was there for my dad. And it helped me to take a different perspective as to how to doing that. So even when that they're passing, everybody says, it doesn't lighten up, but you do expect it. But when it happens, you're like, oh, it's kind of over. It's like a chapter closed. Now what do I do? So in your perspective, I can see with Hector, he was still kind of young, not young, but you like he still got some life to live. Unlike my dad, it's like, okay, we kind of towards the end of the road. I could hear him playing Boys to Men in the background. So this kind of wrapping up, isn't it? So it's a little different perspective with him. I can understand that. That was kind of seemed like he had some more fight in him but he decided, no, I'm kind of finished with that. And for other personal reasons that I know too, that he's told me. But my thing is, it's a little different when you know. Even if you know, it's still a different way of how you go about handling that, and it's just a difference. And that could be a catalyst too, because that made me grow up in doing that. I think a lot of times I was kind of like soft um handling things. And then when stuff started to, like, you got to sign papers, you got to make sure you make decisions for your dad, your mom is kind of distraught, that made me kind of kick it to gear to be, that was my catalyst moment. It's like, oh wow, I'm stronger than I think. I can actually juggle all these things at the same time, handle, talk to the doctor and teach at the same time, and then leave here and still kind of prepared and get myself back on track afterwards. Well, the way I thought I was back on track, but once it stopped, it just all collapsed. But my thing is that understanding that how you find out how strong you actually are through those push moments. I think catalyst to me is like something that comes behind you and just say, push, do it. I was scared to do
Mhm.
it before. No, you can handle that. No, I can't handle it. Yes, you can. Push. It's like, oh, okay, all right, so now I'm handling all this stuff at the hospital, and now I'm answering to things and decide my dad's medicine and his care. Okay, all right, I don't think so. So then, that helps you to kind of take all of those moments and those things and together, and that's where you become your greatest part of yourself. You rise to the occasion. That's what I think when you have those things, whether they're hard towers or soft towers. It's still a way of you really finding out more yourself. And that's why the catalyst, to me, catalyst comes along. It's like, no, you've been playing yourself kind of small. You're much larger than this moment that you're living. So it's time for me to stretch you. And so that's why, to me, that's why those catalyst moments come along too as well, for
It's
me.
like the like pressure, right, to make the diamond. It's like you don't know what's in there until you dig deep, and
Mm,
sometimes until those moments happen, we're not aware. And I remember you were talking so fondly about your DM when that happened, how he really helped you by preparing you to
yeah,
be able to do that so much more smoothly than you thought. And that's
right.
one of the things. It's like the benefit of being able to have that connection in 5D and 3D at some point is that we see them, their contribution shows up in
Mm,
unexpected ways. And then we
yes.
get to appreciate them in a different light. Like, oh, you sneaky bugger. I didn't know you put that in me. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes, yes. That is so true. But and the way he said it, I mean, it was really simple and plain, but the way he did it and he spoke it into me, and I was like, I get it now. Okay, it's part of the process. This is going to happen. And that point on, I was like, okay, I can deep dive and go in here and start making the arrangements for that. I got it. I got it. I got it. Yeah. So you see why the reason why they come along. You have your DM, your other half of you, is how they're able to empower you in ways that nobody else. They can speak those words and it goes right straight there to your, for them as the head. Yeah, the heart, because the masculine can speak to you in the way that it'll speak to your heart, but you speak to your divine masculine and it goes straight to their mind, to their brain. It goes and you can make their brains think much more than what it was anybody average one. But you get those wheels are turning when you talk to your divine masculine, and the opposites, and he gets this heart, your heart chakra, to moving
Mhm.
through that in
Yeah.
ways before.
That was beautifully spoken, both of you. There is no real anticipation, knowing or not knowing. Um, I remember 2 years ago specifically, I had a prophetic dream about the passing of one of my friends. And in the dream, it was non-specific, right? So I thought, okay, this is a general dream. It's just something is going to change, you know. But the first part of the dream, which was when me and my ex broke up, um, it happened just like the dream. So I was like, okay, I'm hoping that the second part of the dream isn't accurate. And then when he did come to pass the same way that he did in the dream, it was very interesting because it reminded me of when I was a child and I had the different gifts starting to pop up in the dreams, and you think like you're responsible, like you take a different level of responsibility. So being able to see it from the adult eyes and knowing that you're not supposed to prevent it from happening, it's it's going to happen. It's just a matter of how you actually carry that responsibility or carry that gift, because it is a gift to be able to be in the space of someone who's passing, to give them their love, that kindness, offer them that type of um, you know, energy resonance here on earth, right? Because we spend a lot of our time, if we're in the whole matrix 3D part of it, where we are kind of like in the throes and we're fighting, but in reality we're in a flow, we're in a dance with God and the whole universe, and creating our space and abundance now. And what truly is matters, I think, is that connection, is that wholehearted ability to be present, be in the now, owning all the possibilities without attachment, but also knowing that everything is working its way out for the best. And it is a matter of free will,
Mm-hmm.
because the people, they took the steps. If you're here on this plane, odds are pretty good that your temple is temporary. But since the soul is the one that lasts forever, and we're here to kind of light up this earth, how do we light up as many souls possible before our temple uh, wears out its last candle? So
Mm-hmm.
so um, and then because I mean, I'm sure we've all had near death experiences as well, and so you know we're at the point. I was dying on the hospital table. And I'm like, thanks for the run. I had a great time. Sorry, Temple. I did my whole Oponopono. I was like, sorry, thank you for giving me everything you got. I love you. I know I could have done some better things with you and had some more fun, but thank you. And then that process, please forgive me for not following through with all of whatever. And then I felt my soul make an agreement and come back into my body, and you know, had the whole blood transfusion, did all that stuff, and I'm like, here I am alive now. Now what, right? Because you get a different taste for life too when you encounter death, or when you assist someone with passing. Just like they have birth doulas, they also have death doulas. So sometimes it's your calling to be with someone when they transition as well, because we we may be born alone and we may pass alone, but we're not really alone. We're here to have the connection experience. So, just honoring all the parts of the journey. It's a beautiful thing, but it's also it can be bittersweet since we have very interesting death practices in the United States, right? And then we kind of, certain parts of like the Christian religion and Catholic religion, can get canonized, or you can become like a saint, or different things like that. But it's not like they talk about it so much on earth, right? The last person you heard that was doing this kind of stuff was what, Mother Teresa? But they're not sitting there talking about, that she's. Did they give her a saint? Does anybody know if Mother Teresa became a saint?
Yes,
Oh,
but her John Paul II supposed to be canonized too. John Paul,
Okay.
yeah, he is, because they said they have to perform miracles or whatever like that, and then they know that I know Mom knows that stuff better than I do.
I hope
Uh,
you get canonized later. Is welcome to the canonized playground, where you
so
can
way
get
better
sainted.
than I do.
You
Yeah,
get knighted,
here we
sainted,
go.
and
I knew she had
sanctified. Hallelujah.
Let me ask you a question. After a catalyst tower moment, do you recommend a heart chakra meditation? It
Um,
can.
kind of depends on what you're going through.
I see why
I
I would.
always recommend a heart chakra meditation.
I, it might anchor you in a little bit more. That's what I'm kind of like feeling. That's the first thing you say. It anchors you. So yeah, you can do that, so you can know. Stop thinking. They say anchor you so you can know what's your next step to do that, because that goes back again to what Jupiter 11 stated again. That it pushes you. Now it's like, okay, now if I push you, your next thing is to make your next step after that. So now what step and direction are you going to go from there? So if you get yourself heart centered and anchored down, you'll be able to make a more sure-footed decision as to what's your first step in direction that you actually want to go. That's what they just brought me. So my thing is yes, I would recommend that you do a heart chakra thing, and then probably root too, because then you on the ground and root whatever kind of decision that you want to do. I mean, you can just hit all of them if you wanted to kind of semi go, but you
Trust
can start.
your intuition.
The heart is good. We forgot last time, and I'm glad Jupiter 1111 is here too, because we coming. And I know you got your meditation too. We forgot about how are karmics, that dirty word, how are they callous as well? How do they play the role, the karmics?
They assist us, right? So it's like a lot of time I'm hearing sirens like, whoa, really, Raphael? That was a hard horn.
Right.
They assist us on our path because a lot of times, you know, they're going to help push us into areas. Just like our divine counterparts, their main job is to help push us into our gifts. And through that dynamic, where all those things start percolating. And if we're in close proximity with them, it percolates even more. Just like when we're together, our giftings, because we're in union of source with each other, starts to come to the surface. But these karmic situations are there to expose something that just needs to, you know, it's not really about fixing, because then, you know, when we use those kind of terminology, those narratives, then you feel like there's always something wrong with me. But if we see it as just something that needs to be released in order for your authentic self to kind of come to the surface, then you're not as angry. Because a lot of times, you know, and some of it is just like personality stuff. There are people who I know who they either critical thinkers, but because they're critical thinkers, they see the pitfalls. Because they see the pitfalls, and they're mislabeled as being like negative nullies, when actually they're just letting you know, I see the pitfalls, I don't want you to fall in it. And but they actually are a wellspring of knowledge that if you know how to leverage that, then when you're working on a project, it's a really good time. You know when to bring them in, to have them punch holes in it. Like their main thing is to punch holes. Let them. But then we see that, like, oh, that person doesn't like me, that person's a karmic. We actually mislabel people. They're like, it's just a personality difference. But maybe the personality difference is iron sharpening iron. Because they're so different, there's something for you to learn there. It's to learn how to sidestep your own communication. It's to learn to figure out, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. This is how I like to be talked to or treated. This is how I don't want to be talked to and treated. You know, what's my responsibility in that? And making those choices over and over and over again. And the karmic situations really highlight a lot of those things that we wouldn't really want to deal with on our own. In our own little circle of friends, we kind of gravitate to people who have more of the heart that we do. So we're not going to encounter those lessons with them. So we're going to have to encounter it with somebody else. There is a thing of like opposites attracting. And so a lot of times those karmic situations are the opposites of us because of that polarity. But there's something for both of us to learn. And for all you know, they're your teacher, but you're also theirs if they allow it. It's not always a bad thing. And it's also the thing of love, right? Can you know, everybody, even thieves love each other. It's easy for us to have a love fest here because we're all the same. You know, it's a huge love fest. But the test of who you really are, can you really do those things in 2 Corinthians? Can you be patient? Can you be kind? Can you be long-suffering with somebody you want to punch in the face?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We'll see really how spiritually mature you are when you hit that wall of being tested to love someone who is unlovable. Because even like my ex-husband, you know, he became a recluse, and he was one of those who was a critical thinker. But even though I was young, I was 19 when I met him, and he was 40. Yeah, he was 40. But I was able to recognize, without understanding personality gift clusters, that I'm like, oh, he just sees things differently. But he could, if you pay attention, he'll tell you like things, and then people get mad at him, like, oh, when then you caused it to come to pass because you said it. No, he warned you. He said, this is a possibility. This is what I'm seeing. And so that really attracted me, because I just find, and high intelligence, very sexy. So it's just like, whoo, hello, professor. So, but then what happened was because he'd never learned how to sidestep his communication, you know, he didn't want to do that piece for himself. There was a lot of missed opportunity for connection. But he, you know, he taught me a lot about learning how to love and loving people for really, we're saying, oh, well, love and accept people. But see, it's about rapport. Really, all people prefer others reflecting themselves. And as long as somebody else is reflecting ourselves, that's resonance, then we love them. But do we love someone who doesn't resonate with us? Will we, like, when we encounter them, are we just going to be like, bye?
You're dead to me. It's dead now. Most time we reject them. Well, I don't want no pieces like that. So you're right. And I thank you for you coming up with that, because that helped me with my relationship with my mom to understand better that that's the way she is. It always seemed like she was knocking and slamming everything down, but she always has that critical eye. Okay, well, if you do this, this is going to happen. If you do it, did you think about this? It's like, dang, you know, do you want to see me elevate and ascend to the next level? Or are you pushing me down? But after I seen that and understanding about what you stated about that critical eye, it helped me to look at it from a different aspect for that. And that is very good, because sometimes you don't. Like, I'm a person who sees the big picture, but I don't think about the little finite little pieces that go in there. And she helps to kind of fill in, like, okay, if you keep on going, this might happen or this might happen. So that is very good. Again, well, everybody pretty much knows my view about the karmic thing, that we've got to stop kind of viewing them as the bad guy. They, again, are there to kind of push us. And again, you can't learn anything if you keep on getting the same people give you the same praise as well. You do need somebody, some critics, or you need that person to kind of show you another way. You know what? You're not as fabulous as you think you are. Like, I'm like, what's
Clutch pearls.
I like Kenya more time. I'm going with the wind fabulous. I'm going with the wind fabulous. And she twirling, and you know, everything she says is always right. You'll never learn if you come from that kind of mindset all the time. You know, you need somebody to kind of like, okay, let's kind of twerk this and twist this and maybe kind of fine tune and screw this in a little bit more than what you have. And that's pretty much the lesson for them. The only issue that they have with the karmics is that some of them, they stay in it too long. They don't get the lesson and the blessing, and they move on. They kind of just stay right there, and understanding that that's temporary. That's not something that's permanent. When we're talking about the karmic relationship, just like I said, when they push you, it's for you to go on and make that step and to move out from that position, not to stand there and let them keep on pushing behind you. And you like, I'm just standing here and I'm not going anywhere, and I haven't made any kind of forward movement. That's really truly going against what the purpose of the karmics are. And a lot of us have that kind of issue. Some, not everybody, but a good proportion of them, especially these new ones that's coming in. Woo, trying to get them off of that understanding about the karmic. But you just don't know what they did to me. You just don't know. I'm like, okay. Somebody's still kind of a little traumatized, a little PTSD about this, about the karmics and stuff. And that's another way that you keep on viewing them like that. Like I said before, that's going to be your karma too. That's going to keep them stuck there. If you can't look at them from the viewpoint that they're doing their job, they're making them better. I remember when I went to a reader one time and she had told me that. She said, oh, I know why they're in that situation. It's because they need to learn the difference. They need to learn the difference between you and them, and then truly understand what love is. And then after they get it, they'll come back. I was like, okay. So you have to let them go ahead and do their jobs. Karmics can do, I know with me, I love mine from his head to his toe. And a lot of times, things that required from the karmics that they do a much better job than we can, to be honest with you. Because some things that they do, you just don't have that in your skill set to be. You know, they can do those things. And plus, it's things that those two have to learn together if they're in those karmic situations. So you go on ahead. I know it's kind of hard, and that's where trust comes in, and you let them go on ahead and do the aha or the hard towers or whatever that you have to do in order to get your person together, because you want them to come back right. In all of that, you don't want them to come back the same person. And so a lot of times that's what they signed up to do, is they say to make each other to be better. So when they leave from that situation, they're not going to return. Well, I got fork in the road. Some of them stay the same. Let's just be honest. And but somebody out of that situation is always going to end up being changed. Now, either that person, no, they should correct me again. Both of them will be changed some kind of way. One of them will say, I'm gonna still keep on being the person that I am, bump that after this experience, or somebody will walk away and say, you know what, that didn't work, and so now I'm changed from this thing. So they can go either way about it, but it will be some change, some kind of way, rather they say to stay the way they are on that one. April, you got a meditation thing to do? Oh, I didn't know it was
I
that time.
do. I do. I'm running out of I have very low batteries, so I'm gonna do this real quick because it
Okay.
started coming up earlier. So, let's everybody close our eyes and take a deep breath, and we center into our body, center into our core belief. We're gonna set it into our solar plexus right now, just our power center. We're gonna let that fill up with gold, yellow light, and we're gonna let that fill up our egg with the self esteem, fill up our egg with the knowing of self, fill up our egg with balanced, calm, but directed action. And so we're going to let this solar plexus light go down to our feet and then back up through our root and sacral to our solar plexus. And we're going to let that sit in the solar plexus and gain more energy, right? So we're rooted in that power. We know that each of our steps are given and ordained, right? So let that power from the solar plexus go up through the heart, the throat, the third eye, up through the crown, out to the universe, God, and let it come back down through the crown, through the third eye, through the throat, the heart, and back of the solar plexus. So everything is coming together for us to have this divine action. Now open your eyes. Okay, in this waking space that we have, sometimes darkness comes around us. Like we get clouded in our mind, or we get clouded in our self esteem, or our self worth becomes a little bit muddled. I want you to peel off yourself, your skin, as if it were a moment in time. So you're just stepping almost like into another vortex. You're creating you as a vortex, and you step out of you into you. So it's like a funny little shadowy mirror thing. So you're stepping out of your shadow and into your light body self. And you can peel off all of this confusion on all of this at any time. So whenever you come to a situation where you feel like the catalyst is getting the best of you, your emotions, everything is, you're going to step out of you and into you.
Mhm.
Out of that old version that's triggered, out of that old part that's like, oh, I'm stuck with my inner child wounds, or I'm a bad person, or I did this and that. No, no, you're you. You're beautiful. You're created from both the physical mana of the earth and that beautiful heavenly mana come together to bring forth light as a twin. So just keep stepping into yourself, into the newness of you. You change with every breath, with every moment. And sometimes it feels good to kind of get out of your skin, get out of this old paradigm of thinking, and just step into something new. And you get to create that newness. So don't carry all that extra weight and cloudiness with you. Step into that new and know that your gut, your power center is with you. And there we go. You feel that? That felt good.
It
All right.
did.
All right.
Clear.
With 3% going down by the minute.
I felt clear. I felt clear. Is there any last things? Because we are over time. Is there any last thoughts or anything? Because I want you while you on here. From any of you all guys. Last thoughts. Wrapping up. Let me see. That's any questions.
It's a beautiful sentiment, you guys. It's really nice to get all of these wonderful perspectives on catalysts because, you know, it really does help to have multiple heads thinking about a situation or just how to free oneself from something that people don't even know that they're locked in. And that's the only really way to do it, is have somebody else come in and give you the outside perspective. You know, as much as we want to say we got it all and we can do it all, we still need um, balance.
True, true, true. Jupiter 1111. Any kind of last thoughts as we wrap up?
It's not going to stop.
Don't run. Don't run from them when they happen. Don't run from those situations. They're there to make you better, to actually, at the other side of that, give you something you ask for that you want. And so if you would take the opportunity as this, well, this is an adventure. This is going to be curious how all this is going to work out. Then it will work out for your highest good. But you need to not run from it, because it's just going to come back in a different form. So when it comes, just know, okay, this is the best time for me to deal with this issue. And you'll have the most grace in that moment. So just hold on to that and make that your mantra. Everything's working out for my highest good, even this.
Yes. It's raining now. You know how I took you guys all to the beach? It's raining. Just so
yeah, I knew it was going to do that. We looked at the clouds. We were like, we see.
Oh, but they change. The change is like every minute. But there's always a rainbow in Hawaii. There's always a rainbow somewhere.
Okay, there you go. And that's life. You just got to be ready just to go with the flow. Even after you have that catalyst push, after that pause, take that first step, get into your heart, take that first step, and take it from there. That's a good way to end things. All right, then. I want to thank so very much today for us to have our special co-host here, Miss Jupiter 1111. If you want some more information, go to risewithjupiter.com. Get all that juicy tidbits. I'm using her words of helping you to be able to live your best life. And then we also have our own golden girl herself, made for this golden life.com. Goddess, if you love those meditations that she has, make sure you go and hit her up as well. And then you have me as well, DivineUnisouls11.co. I do the readings, I do the letters, those love letters to help you to act as a catalyst too. Love letters can act as a catalyst too, to make that change, to hear and understand your divine counterpart much better. So if you want one of those, hit me up too as well. Also, we have the playground experience, which you heard Jupiter 1111 talk about. She took it her own route, but she still got the playground experience still, and how you need somebody else with an outside perspective to kind of help you to understand what's going on the inside. Because if you're up on something, you can't really see what's actually going on. So that's why you need other eyes on what's going on. So if you're interested in that, well, you have Kathy D. Here, she does the mind, the Jedi Master. She helps you with doing tools and techniques to help change your mind. You have April Williams there to help you with the body and clearing of that. And then you have me too as well, doing the readings and also tapping into spirit to see about what things are your blocks and triggers and how that's affecting your union. You get that whole package deal for $92. It's an hour of each one of us that you're spending time, and we got some extras in there too. They were throwing in their bonuses to help you with that as well. All right, then. Also, if you like what pineapple, okay, although she's not here, but I'm gonna give a shout out to her too. Kathy D is pineapplefishlifecoaching.com as well. You know, we got our own Kathy D. If you want some more things to help you with the mind, make sure that you hit her up too as well. And you like what we're doing on this channel, make sure you click like, share, and subscribe as well, so you can see all these times when the playground experience is on and when we are going live. All right, then, ladies. Let's go ahead and let's sign and get on out of here. Let's go, Jupiter 1111. You're our guest, so you'll kick it off first.
May all your days be like days of heaven upon the earth.
Yes.
Stay blessed. Stay golden.
And always stay uplifted, stay motivated, stay ascending. Namaste. Namago. Mwah. Love you. Thank you, everybody that came to the playground.
Aloha.
Get your sandboxes and your shovels and all that stuff, and maybe put on change the underwear. All right, then. Till next time. See ya.